You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Queen Carvania stood haloed by the morning sun. An army hung on her every word.
My champions, I have sold my chariot on Carvana. 'Twas a lovely SUV, an inexplicably queenly offer. They're even coming to the castle to collect it. Tonight, we feast! An offer you can feast on. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
We don't understand ourselves. We're just looking to be validated. And I was looking for validation. There was a scenario where I had put myself out there and I hadn't for a long time, and he had taken pictures of me without my permission, and it traumatized me. I put myself in that situation and I was looking for validation, but it wasn't in that way.
Understanding personality disorders can be challenging, especially when it comes to conditions like Histrionic Personality Disorder, or HPD. This episode, Rebecca shares her personal journey with Histrionic Personality Disorder and her ongoing path to self-understanding and healing. Rebecca hopes to destigmatize mental health issues and highlight the importance of treatment and self-love. So without further ado, I give you Rebecca Twain.
The best way I can explain it to people is like Harley Quinn, and she's not the best example, you know what I mean? Because every histrionic you're going to meet is different, just like every borderline you meet is different. Like there's a diversity between every person you meet who has these disorders. So,
right.
Yeah.
And you were diagnosed with borderline personality disorder as well?
Yes, I was. Yeah. At the age of 35, it took me almost my whole life to understand what was going on with me. And I want others to get help, and share my experiences so that others can get help as well. Because there is a stigma, and I want to destigmatize mental health and let people know you're not the only one. There are others out there who are just like you, who want to share their experiences and help you.
How old were you when you were diagnosed with histrionic personality disorder?
35.
Oh,
so it was
were
like
both of them.
One,
okay.
Yeah, 1 and 1. And it was basically like a light bulb went off. And I also had like my own ego death. I don't know. There's a word for it, but I went through like this, what would you call it? Like a mortification. That's what they call it when you almost kind of go through this ego death of everything that you were going through and what you were. It's almost like a dream, right? You're in a dream state for so long. And I had a history of being erratic, dramatic, and volatile. Like there were people that I would get into fights with for no reason, just splitting and not understanding why I was looking at things in a black and white way, that's how my brain works. And now I find the mind very fascinating, and I've been doing nothing but researching about it since I found out. So it was scary, and a lot of my family is aware of what I'm going through. I am medicated properly now. I'm on a Riprazole and I'm on sertraline, and those both help me moderate my symptoms, but I'm still erratic and very dramatic. I like talking about myself. I do like post on a regular every day. I try to make people laugh, right? Like I try to make people have a good experience every day. So like I said, every person that you come across who has histrionic, you're going to see the diversity in them. Like I'm very playful. It's almost like an inner child that never got to play and wants to dance and sing and enjoy life. And hopefully, like, I would consider myself the life of a party when I go into a room. Like, I definitely stand out. And I never realized this about myself until about 2 years ago. And like I said, it was like a light bulb went off. And I was like, oh my gosh, I behave that way. So
what is histrionic personality disorder, or like what are the symptoms, or the not the symptoms, I guess, but the traits, I guess?
We're very dramatic. We are very like erratic in our behaviors. We're very childlike. Like like skipping, for example, we're an adult who will skip down the street while other adults are just casually walking. Or say I go somewhere and people are just at a concert, I'm running around dancing and swaying and just very childlike. Like it's like the child that never got to play. You know what I mean? Who wants to play with everybody now? But yeah, I'm so dramatic, erratic. My friendships, I tend to think I'm closer with people than I am. So like I'll get close to people. I tell them certain things about myself that I probably shouldn't. Like I'm very open and honest, but it's because I want people to understand my experience and what I do. And I'm very dramatic, especially online. Like if I'm always like trying to play with people online, like I post a lot of games and fun things so that people play with me. It's very sexualized stuff too. Like there's hypersexuality. We are very hypersexual. We say a lot of inappropriate things, not
like sexually
on purpose.
or
yeah. Oh yeah. It just comes out like it's just word vomit, right? Like sometimes it comes out before we even process it. So, and it's just because we want to vibe with people. We want to fit in with people, right? And we have a fear of abandonment. It's a big part of it, and acceptance. We want to be accepted.
Well, I'm curious because like you were diagnosed with borderline and histrionic. Like yeah. I wonder, I mean, it's not an exact science, this stuff yet. So I wonder if to cover your psychologists or psychiatrists, but they just diagnose you with both because there is overlap too, right? A lot of overlap.
Yeah,
so
so he called it my comorbidity. I was first diagnosed with borderline. And then when I was talking to him about the histrionic, he said sometimes they coincide. And it would be considered a comorbidity of your borderline. And so I do have both, and they kind of clash, right? Because one is like I would consider like docile and introverted. And then the histrionic side of me is I want to go out. I want to socialize. I want to be a part of everything. So it's kind of, it's weird. It's weird, but I live with it.
Well, and some of the things they're saying kind of sound like ADHD or neurodivergence too, which I think is also a comorbidity, perhaps.
Yeah, the DSM-5 is such a wide range that I believe that there are so many that fall under. And this is why I like Sam Vaknin. I like listening to like what he has to say about all the people on the DSM-5 because it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum all by itself. You know what I mean? And we are, like you said, we're just starting to become aware. Like even myself in my 30s, it took me till my 30s to realize that I was struggling with these things. I don't want to see other people struggle. I want to see them get diagnosed sooner so that they can get help. Because it was quite the whirlwind for myself and my family to deal with histrionic personality disorder and other mental health disorders. I also deal with bipolar, and that's why I'm on the aripiprazole. Yeah. So I have quite the salad going on in my head.
When were
Yeah.
you diagnosed bipolar?
I'm being diagnosed. My
Oh,
doctor suspects it because when she had put me on the medication, I was still showing signs of mania. Like I was still, just, it wasn't even splitting. It was behaving differently. And I was like, okay, there's something else going on here. So now this year, we do suspect it, but she's already put me on medication, like a small dose for it. So, and it's working. So I do suspect that as well. I'm struggling with quite a bit, but like I said, I'm medicated now, and it's made quite a difference in the past year. Like, if you were to look me up, you would see things where I was confrontational with people. Like, there is a history of my histrionic for sure. And it, you can tell from the way I used to speak to people to now how I can sit there. Like, before it would lash out irrationally. You know what I mean? And now I can sit there with it and I can think as opposed to just jumping. And yeah. So it has a lot to do with my doctor was telling me that because of trauma, and this is trauma based. I grew up in a very traumatic household. I grew up in a home with a mother of three girls, and she was a single parent, and I'm the oldest of all of us, and it was quite the hectic household. So it is mostly trauma based, yeah.
okay. So, I mean, there's nature and nurture. So I'm assuming, like, it seems like a lot of personality disorders.
Yeah,
It's like there is
overlapping.
with
Yeah,
that, and that there is like DNA wise, you might have that switch in you, but it doesn't switch on until there is trauma. So it's like maybe not everyone has that switch. So it is a bit of a
that's right.
mix of
Well, and
nature and
they say
nurture.
that people who are histrionic and borderline, we border neurosis and psychosis. And that's part of it as well. And it, like you just said, it takes trauma to trigger that. So
Right.
it absolutely trigger based. Yeah.
Right. Hmm. Um, it's so like, do you mind kind of maybe talking about some of your traumas, or we don't have to? We can.
Yeah, no, of course. So my mom was a severe addict. She still is. It's hard because I love her very much still. I forgive her for the things that I grew up with. But I know that a lot of the things that she did while I was growing up are the reasons I am the way I am. Like, she was very push and pull herself. I believe that she struggled with her own histrionic personality disorder. She was very like hypersexual when we were younger. She would have people in and out of our house, parties. Like, I don't know if you remember the 80s pictures when we had like there's pictures of us with ashtrays in the background. Like, I'm an 80s baby, right? So I had a mom that, like, that wasn't taboo back then. So I grew up like that. And I grew up in a home where it was kind of just like fend for yourself, figure it out. And she was abusive, like physically abusive, and I was also sexually abused. So I think that's where the hypersexuality comes in, is because I have this notion in my head that the world was that way. Now I'm starting to perceive things differently. Like, I used to dress even more colorful, love roller skating, when I was a child. Like I said, going through what I went through with my mother, it almost made me want to stay that way, like stay inside myself and continue to be that child that never got to play. I think it's because I took on a mother role as the older sister, right? So she had me always delegating to taking care of the other two children. And I love my sisters, but believe it or not, and you might want to speak to all of us individually one day, we are all borderlines. And one of my other sisters has histrionic as well. So
Okay.
I don't know if it's completely trauma based. It could be hereditary as well, because my mom has, like I said, she showed signs of it growing up.
Right.
And
Once you're diagnosed, you can see it in other people, it seems like.
I don't see histrionic as often in other people as I do, because I actually looked it up. It's actually less common to get diagnosed with it than it is for borderline. So it's 5%, I think, of the world is like BPD, which I think the number is so much more, right? And then histrionic, it's like 0.05. So it's not as common. And I do look for it in people, especially in the medical careers, because I know that like women in the medical careers are a little bit kooky. I think there's, I think there's quite a few of them that aren't aware that they have it. But um, I think histrionic on the DSM, okay, on the cluster Bs, we would be considered less volatile on the chart of the DSM. We're more peaceful. We tend to we love animals, we love elderly, we love children, we're very like geared towards, I know I myself, like I am a very big empath when it comes to animals and children and just people in general. I love people. And I did finish my high school. I do have a college degree. I am a personal support worker. So we do accomplish things. Like I said, I border neurosis and psychosis. So when I do something, I try to complete it to the best of my ability. And I research and research and research. Like, I want to be my own boss. I've done the PSW thing for a while, but I would like to be my own boss because, I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah. There's a lot of overlap for neurodiversity too, because like a lot of ADHD people are their own bosses and whatnot too. But is it usually women are diagnosed with histrionic more so than men?
Yes, but I see it in men too. I've seen it more so than in men than I've ever thought. So even online, when you see men flirting with women in the comments and on memes and stuff like that, I notice the hypersexuality. And I'm like, okay, maybe they're showing a little bit of signs of histrionic there. And yeah, I just think it's very underdiagnosed, right? Like a lot of men get diagnosed with NPD, but I believe there's comorbidities of BPD and histrionic in there too. I just think it's like a huge overlap. And now they're saying, okay, I was watching this docu thing and it was saying that 50% of men have NPD and then 50% of women now. And that used to be like an 80-30 ratio or something. Like it's changed so much. And I think that's because of social media. That's because of filters and I think social media is like wearing a mask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can be a whole other person when you're presenting yourself online. But I like authenticity. I really like to be authentic. I like to be myself. I'm very quirky. Like I said, the clothing that I wear is sometimes it's very childish and not always appropriate. So like if I'm wearing a long t-shirt, sometimes I'll tuck it in my underwear. My sister's like, that's not appropriate. This is a family function. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to like show a little hip, So like, I think that's part of it. And when I tell people, I get one of two reactions. Some people are like very interested and then others are like, oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Like they're grieving me in the moment or something.
Talking about the men and being like maybe underdiagnosed, like you always hear, like how many women are murdered by a spouse or their domestic by a guy that they're either dating or married to, and it's like, okay, is that not like extreme fear of abandonment? Like, is that not like what like?
I would say that's close to the McDonald triad. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that's like psychopathy and Machiavellianism. I've done a lot of research on personality types because I wanted to know who I was and what I was doing and how I was treating people and how I was speaking. And like I said, now that I am medicated, like if you were to see me a year ago or a year and a half ago before I was starting this journey of doing better and bettering my life, like you would have seen a whole different person. Like my hair was always colored a different color. I was always going for, like, I was tattooing myself, piercing myself always. And I think it had to do with trauma. I was like, I need to feel pain somewhere else besides up here. You know what I mean? Because with people like us, it's a swollen amygdala. We have our brains do not function like other people's. So we are very heightened to like if I go into a room, for example, I can read people's emotions. Like I could feel a vibe. And if I feel like the vibe is off, I will abandon them in that moment because I'm like, I don't want to split. And I don't want to be put in a situation where I'm uncomfortable. So now I discern myself and I can read a room. If I don't vibe with it, I walk away.
Where in the past you'd stay and be confrontational?
Yes. And I would kind of like cause chaos. Prime example was like, I didn't even see this, but like looking back in the past, I went to a bar with a friend and this is not appropriate, but I would slap a guy's butt and I would point at her. And I would literally point at her and then they would get all excited because they would think it's her doing it. And that's just a prime example of what inappropriate things that I would do. And like some of the guys would get excited and then some of them would just like, what the heck? I was just assaulted. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. It was assault. And I didn't know that I was crossing boundaries. And that's another thing is we don't always understand boundaries, right? And it's okay and safe to let us know if we are crossing boundaries. It's actually imperative for you guys to let us know when we are not, we're being a little erratic and dramatic and we're, there's a time and a place, right, for certain things. And I'm learning that as I go. But yeah, like it took me taking online classes too. I do the mindfulness classes and stuff where I practice a lot of mindfulness now. And
is that part of the like the treatment? Like once you're diagnosed, there's medication, but there's also, your own self.
You have to do the work and meet yourself halfway. Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
You have to take the DBT, and that's what it is. It's basically like they're like classes that you take online for like 6 weeks at a time, and they teach you about like how to regulate yourself and how to not overreact in certain situations and just understand that other people don't think like you and you don't think like other people. So that's where the mindfulness comes in for sure. Yeah.
So part of your kind of advocacy work is to let people know that these aren't bad people. They're just different people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say that like when we're not medicated, okay, we have two versions of us and we can be volatile. Absolutely. Our words can really hurt. We can cut deep with words because when I wasn't medicated, I would weaponize incompetence against people. Like I would take something that they would tell me and I would weaponize it against them. And now looking back, I wish I didn't do that or behave that way. And I am trying to work on that in my own now. You know what I mean? But I have done that in the past. And now that I'm medicated, I feel as though I'm at peace with myself. And it took me a long time to find that self-love, and that's important too. You have to love yourself through the journey. You have to understand that it's not your fault. It's just the way that your brain works and how you perceive the world. And that's okay.
This is just a theory, but I think a lot of people because there's a huge stigma around personality disorders. And I think a lot of people, like when they tell others that they've been diagnosed with something, their guard goes up right away. And I think a lot of people who have been hurt by others that had personality disorders maybe weren't diagnosed yet. Like once you were diagnosed, then you can you've been more responsible. You've done the treatment, you're doing the research, you're more self-aware. You're trying your best to improve. I guess not everybody does
100%.
that, but that's the beauty of the diagnosis, but it's also the shitty part of the stigma.
100%. And when I was diagnosed, I had to sit with it. It was like grieving myself.
Because you had stigma in your own head?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I was like living in this delusion that I was just this normal person like everyone else. I didn't need to be medicated. I was running around like just, like there were days where I was like a daisy and I was like bubbly and happy. And then there were days where I was just so down and out and I didn't understand why.
Hey, I gotta tell you, having a podcast isn't all that easy. Especially in this day and age when trends and things are changing so quickly. I can't keep up with it, and honestly, I don't like doing it. I like the creating part. That's why I reached out to Carrie Hyman. She's the genius behind Your Voice Consulting. With more than 25 years of experience in communications and engagement, Carrie helps organizations connect with purpose and clarity. Known for her practical approach and steady leadership, she's built lasting relationships across industries and communities, guiding teams to communicate with confidence, empathy, and impact. And I can tell you, she is a long-term good friend of mine, and all of that is 100% true. So if you have an organization or a corporation of any kind, and you're spinning your tires, or you're needing some extra help, some advice, I'm telling you right now, go to yourvoiceconsulting.com and contact Carrie. One thing I've learned through my experience with mental health and addictions is you never know what you need to hear until you hear it. Make sure to rate and review on Apple and to tell as many people as you can about the podcast so others can hear something they need to hear from one of my guests. After all, this is a free mental health service, which is a rare thing, so why not share with as many people as you can?
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Why am I like this? Like people just wake up and they get over things and they move on. I was staying stagnant. I wasn't moving on. And I started realizing in my 30s, I was holding grudges against people for things that I was also doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I'm sorry to those people for what I've done. I am sorry for how I've acted in the past, but I am trying to make the changes, and you're right. I want to end the stigma on mental health when it comes to people thinking that we are such like volatile people, because we are when we're not medicated. Like you said, when we're not diagnosed, when we aren't medicated, we're kind of wandering around like NPCs, right? And we're just...
What's an NPC?
Non-playing character.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
So like we're running around not understanding that we're not navigating ourselves properly. We're not understanding that we work differently, it was just the comprehension wasn't there. And now it's very much there. And I'm starting to see all this pattern recognition now that I'm self-aware. And it's almost like I said, I went through like a
ego death.
Yeah, absolutely. An ego death. That is the best way to put it, because I was literally I put myself on this pedestal for so long. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. And my sisters would say, there's something going on. Like, you don't act like everyone else. And like for the longest time, she's like, it's bipolar. And I'm like, no, it's something more. There's something more going on with me. And yeah, like there are days where like my makeup's a little bit out there. Like today is a very casual day, but like there are times where I go out and I can tell people are looking at me differently because I got these crazy boots on, or like this crazy colorful like childish shirt on, or You know, like even the clothing that I buy, I've noticed it's not always appropriate. I am trying to change that as I get older, like more casual, right? Yeah. In my younger years, oh my goodness, like I said, the best way to explain it was Harley Quinn. The way she dresses is very much the way we dress. We are doing it to seek attention, and and like when I wasn't medicated, I was always seeking attention, and I didn't care if it was good or bad. I did not care. If somebody made a post about me, I was like, oh, good. They're giving me attention. So it doesn't matter if they're saying volatile things or I'm like, oh, they're talking about me.
Interesting.
So,
I was diagnosed with ADHD at 45 years old. And so
wow.
I can kind of relate to what you're going through. Maybe it wasn't an ego death for me, but it was like just like
An awakening.
yeah,
An awakening.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I have it too. I just was never diagnosed with it.
I feel it in you.
Yeah. I color code all my stuff. Like I'm very OCD, ADHD. Like there's so many comorbidities that come with all of the DSM. That's like what I mean when I'm talking about it. Like it's such a wide spectrum all by itself.
It is. It is. Maybe they'll name a diagnosis after you.
Oh, that I'd like to go on and talk more about this with other people because, like you said, there's one girl I've seen on TikTok who talks about it, and her name is Daisy. And you might want to approach her. I liked her. She was actually she explains it very well. Like you can tell that people are, there's always people who are on the fence about us, but we're all so different. Just remember that people who have histrionic, we are diverse. We are just like I said, children who never got to grow up and who just like kind of want to play all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
With the sexuality, hypersexuality stuff, I know that's kind of one of the big things with histrionic. So how has that gotten you into trouble in the past?
I think I'm the type of person that might get stalked because of the way I act. I still do it every day. I post hypersexual memes. Like I hijacked a group at like 900, it was dead. And then I grew it to about like, I think it was 14K, all because of hypersexual memes. Just like constantly posting and this was over like a 2 to 3 year span before I was diagnosed, and I'm still doing it. Yeah, I'm still doing it.
Well, it's something I talked to someone about this once on the podcast way back, and they said it's almost like this constant full circle trauma thing, because you put yourself in situations where you're hypersexualized and then put yourself in situations with dangerous people or whatnot, and then you're actually then creating new traumas, and then it just kind of keeps going and going and going.
That has happened to me, actually. There was a scenario where I had put myself out there and I hadn't for a long time. I had, not been with anyone, and he had taken pictures of me without my permission. And it traumatized me to the point where I had like thought the worst of men for a long time. And I've had to realize that not all men are that way. It was just, I put myself in that situation and I was looking for validation, but it wasn't in that way. And that's just an example of how we act erratic and how we can just be sporadic with it. And we don't understand ourselves in that moment. We're just looking to be validated. And it was the wrong type of validation. So, caution yourself when you're feeling that way. Ground yourself. Do something that makes you feel good. Like, if you got to dance, girl, you got to twerk to get it out, do so. Get it out.
Well, it's kind of funny because there's always paradoxes in these things. So, I mean, you said you can read a room and read the vibe and the energy, but yet when you're not regulated or you're whatever, then you may put yourself in situations that are dangerous, even though.
Exactly. So it's like a catch-22, right? Like I find that I can put myself, now that I discern myself, I don't anymore, but before I was medicated, I didn't understand how to discern myself. And I would put myself in situations where, and I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and I don't smoke cigarettes. Like I literally try to.
Really?
Yes, I drink coffee. That's like one of my worst things. And I used to bite my nails because I was anxiety, right? But I do them so that I don't bite them anymore.
Huh. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of clean living. What was
Yeah.
that before the diagnosis or after the diagnosis? You kind of
So
stopped.
that was all before. Like a lot of the anxiety came prior to, and now that I am medicated properly, I feel more grounded than I ever have. And I didn't realize that some of us actually just really do need medication. And it's okay to need medication and get help for what we are struggling with. Like
Mhm.
we have to end the stigma on not getting help and not looking at ourselves in the mirror and realizing we are worth the help that we need, you know? We we are worthy of loving ourselves. You just need to find it.
Well, I hate that. Some people do shame others for the medications. Like, oh, you can, if you just exercise and all these.
I do
I'm-
that. I
yeah.
exercise every day. And you know what? I still need the medication. If I wasn't on this medication, I would be telling people off every day for no reason, starting fights online or just in general with my family. Like my family has even noticed I am not how I used to be. I'm less confrontational and I'm easier going. Like I'm easy to talk to. It's easier to speak to somebody who is more grounded than when they're floating around. You know what I mean? Aimlessly.
Really, 'cause
And
I'm finding it very difficult to talk to you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
they are coming out actually with the DSM-6, I believe, in 2027, which is exciting for a lot of us because it is an expensive book. I will say that. But it's like I listen to the audio, right? It's worth the read and it's worth the listen. If you have time to put aside, it's always worth listening to a few of the things, right? Because it taught me a lot about myself. I wasn't aware until I sat there with the psychologist and I said, I think that I am struggling more than most people. And he nodded. He actually looked scared when he diagnosed me because he's like, well, I'm not going to be seeing you anymore. So the look on his face, right? Like, uh-oh, is she going to perceive this as an abandonment? And I was like, okay. I'm like, he's like, how do you feel? And I said, I already felt like I knew. Like I had this feeling that there was so much more going on than what I had perceived. So, yeah. But the look on his face was priceless. It was almost like I'm scared for her, but have a nice life.
Well, it's funny. Before my ADHD diagnosis, I'd be like, "There's nothing wrong with me, man. Society's the problem, man." It's like I'm the one that's not crazy. Not that I'm crazy, but yeah. Then you get the diagnosis and you look into it and you do some more.
But I'm medicated.
Everybody's got something. I mean,
yeah. And you know what? I was saying that with somebody the other day. I'm like, everybody has something. I swear that the DSM is going to get wider and wider as the time goes on because we're just starting to scratch the surface of mental health, and we want to destigmatize it. We really do. A lot of us who are medicated and who are literally getting the help we need want to destigmatize it so that other people can see that we're doing it. You could do it too, honestly. And I did struggle my whole life, all the way up until 35. I don't want to see people going through their whole life not getting help because it really did impact me and those around me. A lot of my relationships, like I stay single now because of how I act in relationships. I am very like push and pull. No, I do not cheat. I'm big on not cheating. I believe that somebody who cheats does not have the capacity of true love. You know, you don't understand what true love is. There's no foresight there. So
Unless they're undiagnosed and unmedicated.
that is true, because you know what? There are people that act in the moment, like we've spoken about, and people who aren't medicated, who are avoidants, tend to be the types that end up cheating. And I have been cheated on. It's awful. So don't cheat on people. It hurts.
How many kids do you have?
I have one. She's 19.
19.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah, I'm done. I'm never having another one. I learned my lesson after having one.
were you married, or was this part of your
No,
hypersexuality?
we weren't married. We were together on and off for 14 years almost.
Wow.
And yeah, he struggled with his own mental health disorder. I believe that he had NPD. So it was like that push and pull dynamic. I say a lot of people who have borderlines, we tend to draw in people who have NPD because we have that empathy. They call it inverse narcissism. Okay. So it's like we have a lot of empathy, like a lot. We can pick up on vibes and emotions, like I said, but we're not good at reading and regulating our own. We can pick up on other people's, you know, but we're not the best at regulating our own emotions for sure.
Right. I'm wondering, like, is it harder, or have you been having to learn to be like chill? It's harder to be chill than it was to like live in chaos, and that was your default mode? It was like, okay, I know what chaos feels like. I'm comfortable in chaos.
And that's how I lived. My mother said I was her most hardest child. And I believe her, because looking back at all my behaviors, I was. There were lots of inappropriate things I was doing even growing up. You know what I mean? That it wasn't clocking to me that it wasn't normal behavior. You know, like I was the innuendos, the sexual behaviors, just dancing inappropriately in public in random places. Like we're very, like I said, sporadic and erratic, and we just do in the moment sometimes. Even to this day, I still will dance out of nowhere. Like my inner child just comes out and I just start dancing.
Did your mom have a lot of different partners?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
And that's why I learned through her not to make the same mistakes. And so I broke cycles for sure. And she did not get help with her mental health, sadly. She ended up like continuing on her life, struggling with her mental health and not being medicated properly. And so I love her, but at a distance.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. My father was a good man. I believe he himself struggles with borderline personality disorder. Highly intelligent. He was a very, very good man. He worked hard. He was a truck driver for decades. He ended up getting a brain injury, so he doesn't work currently, but he raised me well. He raised me with morals, and he raised me with, you know, now I have good boundaries. I didn't always, but he taught me growing up a lot. And I had a grandmother who helped raise me as well. And she had good morals. She was a Christian woman. So like everything she taught me, I took in. And now as an adult, I practice it every day.
Do you mind me asking, your sexual abuser, was it someone that your mother brought into your life?
Yes. So she had always brought in men into our home throughout my years growing up. And I think it was hard for her to date with 3 children. I mean, not a lot of men want to date a woman with 3 females. You know what I mean? That's a lot of women in one home. And I think that once they realized that it was so much more, a lot of them would leave. But the one man who didn't leave, I think that he's severely, severely messed up. Because even to this day, like I've looked him up and he has charges from 2016 for like flash drives of child porn. So it never stopped. He never stopped. I don't believe he has. I heard that he works in a church now too. And
Good
so, right? So like, and why? And I've let the authorities in that area know, just because I don't want him to hurt other people. I don't want him to be able to do to others what he's done to me and my siblings, like it wasn't fair to go through what we went through. And we did go to court for this. He was charged for what he had done. He had gotten 2 years and he was out in 9 months for what he had done. And he had done it to 3 of us. So, and gosh only knows how many others, because they say that one perpetrator will harm over 180 people in their lifetime. So, yeah.
So again, that's like the trauma cycle I was saying before. Like your mother probably has histrionic disorder, and then so she's bringing in these, not great people in her life, and now her kids were all abused. And now that's caused, I'm sure, guilt and shame.
Sexually, like she was like a drill sergeant. Like I love her very much, but like I said, the things that I had gone through, like she had found out that one of my siblings was being hurt, okay? And she was drinking one night, and she ended up drinking and driving that evening. She tried to drive my sisters and I off a cliff.
Good God.
That's how volatile it was to live with her, because the push and pull dynamic with her and her not being medicated was awful. It was awful. She basically looked at us and said, "Pray, girls." And then we were holding each other, and then she stopped right before it happened. So that's another trauma that lives with me. I actually do not drive because I have a fear of driving because of that. I get flashbacks. So a lot of people with BPD, we tend to replay our traumas, like we're living in that moment again. So when we're regulating ourselves and people are seeing us split in that moment, I want them to understand that it's not their fault. Nothing they're going to say or do. If anything, just sit with us in that moment and let us just grieve and vent, because that's all that's happening is we're kind of like reliving that trauma in that moment.
Right. So you can throw on top of everything else, you have probably CPTSD and PTSD.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I've been through quite the amount of stuff. I've been wanting to talk about my life and my story for a very long time, so that others can understand what and why and who and all these things that contributed to why I am the way I am. Even the people that don't understand me, I want them to understand, right? So I think that it's imperative, and I want to write a book about it eventually. That's my next goal after everything I've been through, is to write a book.
Well, I'm honored that I'm the first podcast you've ever done.
No, I appreciate you taking time. As soon as I seen one of your posts, I did see one of your posts, I was like, oh my gosh, it's time for me to talk about what I'm diagnosed with. It's time for me to get myself out there. It's time for me to talk about my life a little bit and my experiences.
It could be healing within itself. That could be part of your treatment, kind of.
Exactly. No, my psychologist would be proud.
Oh, good. And I suppose, talking about traumas, I suppose just going to court as a kid, like that's a whole other traumatic event. Like, I'm so sorry you had to go through all this.
And
shit.
Not only that, when I was going to court, because my mom actually was still dating this guy when he was being charged for what he did. She actually married him while he was incarcerated for what he had done. And she lost us to care. Like we had just, all 3 of us, we had been taken. And she pulled me aside and said, you could tell them that this isn't true. So she had tried to manipulate me into coercing me into telling them that it didn't happen. And I said, no, I'm telling. No, we're not doing this.
How old were you at the time?
I was 12, 13 years old. It had happened when I was about 9. So it took a while for the court process to go through, right? Like a couple years of going through that. And they asked me if I wanted the screen, because you can ask for a screen when you're a child so that you don't have to see your perpetrator. I made sure there was no screen. I wanted to look that man in the face because I was like, you changed the way I think forever.
So you took your power back in a way.
Yep. So I say that when people do things like that to children, you are killing their soul in a way. You are destroying a child. And it's, like, all I can say is he changed me, but he didn't destroy me. I ended up coming out even better because it made me a stronger person in the end. Like, I'm very resilient. I'm very, I'm here. And I want my story to be told, because I don't know if you know this, but I think about 30% of borderlines before the age of 27 end up committing suicide because of the things that they have been through.
I know it's a very high numbers. There was a 17-year-old boy that lived a block away from me. I used to live in a small town, and yeah, he was 17 years old, diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and he took his life. And me and his parents became friends and did some advocating together about just mental health in general and stuff. But yeah, it's.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that, because you know what? There are people like me who before, like in my 20s, before I was medicated, I did have moments of weakness where I felt suicidal. And, like, we have to get people help for BPD because they are so unique. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of borderlines actually have IQs 130 and above. So because they struggle so much, they literally internalize everything. So we research and research and research once we find out like what we're going through, because it's so foreign to us at the beginning. We want to know. And then once we find out, we want to teach others. We want others to understand. And there's quite a few borderlines that I see coming out of the woodwork now. And I love watching their videos. They're such beautiful people. They're beautiful souls. They really are.
Have you heard of the BPD bunch?
No.
They have a YouTube channel, and a couple of the people from there have been on the podcast, and yeah, they're from all over the world, and they have
It would be cool to host my sisters on there. Like, I have siblings, and we are all of us are diagnosed except for one, which I already know she has it, but we've all been diagnosed with BPD, and two of us with HPD. So it took us a long time I do believe it has a lot to do with how we grew up. We grew up, like I said, because my mom had histrionic, she had men in and out of our home. And I have a rule as an adult where I have no men in my home because of it. So if I were to ever date, it would be outside of my environment, because because of how I grew up and what I went through, I don't trust it, right? And I think that's part of the paranoia. We do have paranoia too. That's something that we deal with. We play scenarios in our head that aren't always, they're not legitimate scenarios. They're not always true, like you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the irrational part of it.
And how's your daughter doing?
So I'm very open with her about my diagnosis. She has seen me through a lot of it, and I do feel for her with her growing up with a mom who is struggling with herself, and she's like this quiet, she was raised well. Like she graduated on time. She doesn't smoke. She doesn't drink. She doesn't do drugs. So I think that even though I was navigating this growing up with her, because I was a young mom, she's 19, right? And I'm 37. So like, if you do the math, I was literally 18 when I had her. I was a very young mom. And it was like getting to grow up and relive my childhood again, but better. You know what I mean? And in a way where I could give her consistency and love. And even though I wasn't medicated, I did a lot of things with her as a parent that my mom did not do with me. So I got to like enjoy doing it all over again, but as my own parent, you know, as my own self. So it was a beautiful experience being a mom. And as much as I would never do it again because it's hard and it's expensive, I loved it. It humbled me, and she taught me what actual real love was and sacrifice. And, you know, like I just said, she humbled me in a lot of ways, for sure.
Thank you so much for my guest today, Rebecca Twain. You can follow her on Facebook at Reba Twain 2.0. For more information on mental health issues, traumas, the DSM-5, and personality disorders, please go to the show notes to find helpful links. Please rate and review Bunny Hugs and Mental Health on Apple Podcasts or whatever app you are listening on. Please follow me on Instagram at Bunny Hugs Podcast and on Facebook, Bunny Hugs and Mental Health. If you enjoy the podcast and my guests, please go to buymeacoffee.com, and under Bunny Hugs Podcast, you can leave a one-time or a monthly tip. Any amount is extremely appreciated. You can find all my links in the show notes or at www.bunnyhugspodcast.com. Until next time, please remember to make your beds and take your meds.
Queen Carvania stood haloed by the morning sun. An army hung on her every word.
My champions, I have sold my chariot on Carvana. 'Twas a lovely SUV, an inexplicably queenly offer. They're even coming to the castle to collect it. Tonight, we feast! An offer you can feast on. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.